Welcome back. Thank you so much. So I want to talk a little bit about my journey into the stock market, which came out of pain and desperation. As a kid, I grew up on Army bases. My father was in the Army. We lived all around the world. I lived in Japan, Germany. It was a blessed life. It was a very sheltered life, but it was shattered when I was 12 years old. One day I came home from school, and my mom said, we're leaving. So my mom, my two younger brothers, all hopped on a Greyhound bus. My parents were divorcing. And we took this bus from Fort Lee, Virginia, a two-story house. I mean, we had no money. And this house, by the way, was amazing. It had the same staircase as the Brady Bunch, right? It was like so nice. And we arrived in Harlem, and we lived for a time, all four of us in a room. And Harlem was, in the 70s, this place with amazing energy, but also abandoned buildings, giant lots of empty rubble, hopelessness, drug addiction, unimaginable crime. And so I was sort of thrusted in this position where, let's be honest with you, I was the oldest. I had to help my mom, so I wouldn't be here today if not for that. And later on in the show, I'll talk also about the story of my grandparents, which helped to galvanize my desire to do this. So, I started young. I started learning how to read the Wall Street Journal as 13 years old. I told my mother I was going to work on Wall Street at 14 years old, and here I am today. So I'm always on the lookout for young stars on Wall Street, up-and-coming superstars, and I definitely found one with the editor of the Kobeissi letter, Adam Kobeissi. He joins us now. Adam? I started reading Adam's work, and I'm like, we got to get him on the show. Now I'm upset because everybody wants him. I call Adam, can we get you on the show? Let me check my... he's too busy for me now, but I'm glad you made it today.
Thank you.
So Adam, you're so young. People think highly of you on Wall Street. You're building a business. Share your journey, if you can, with the audience.
So I'm like you. I started at a very young age. I was 12 years old when I started kind of paper trading with very small portfolio.
What was your inspiration to do that?
Honestly, I was just always fascinated by the intricacies of markets and the ability for, in my opinion, markets are the number one source of news. I mean, even today, take a look what's happening with tariffs, with all these headlines. The market is the number one thing, the first thing to react to anything that happens really in the world. And I found free markets to be a really interesting concept. And at the time, there was a shift happening where people were relying a little bit more on technical analysis versus fundamental analysis. And back then, this was over 10 years ago, you had to pick a camp. And I said, why don't I be the one that does both? And at that time, it was like, that was unheard of.
Right.
And I was really motivated by a couple people, one being a high school teacher of mine, Mr. Thomas. He kind of mentored me. So I always say, find a mentor. But also Warren Buffett with his annual letter. I wanted to have the Kobeissi letter, which is my letter where I publish my thoughts. And the number one thing I wanted to have was full transparency. Every single investment that we make is posted in a performance report every single year. This is now our 10th year. And that's really what's allowed me to gain influence and success. I think finding genuine people in this industry is honestly sometimes harder than you'd expect, especially those that are able to perform well. And we've been able to outperform the S&P 500 since inception. That continues to be our goal. This year, over the last 12 months, we actually just eclipsed over 1 billion views on our work for the first time ever. So I think a lot of people ask me, what's the secret? I think the secret is being genuine and doing what you enjoy. Because most of the best investors, like yourself, the best investors I know, they all have one thing in common. They have a passion for markets, and I think that's something that I try to never lose, as big or small as my company becomes.
And I love the part about Mr. Thompson. Shout out to Mr. Thompson.
Mr. Thomas, yeah.
Thomas, yeah. I had three influential teachers, three teachers who, at the right moments, kind of helped usher us through this. Let's do this. Let's take a question from the audience. I think we have a question. Madigan? Hi.
I'm a student from Westminster College. What would you say the best way for college students to build their wealth would be, even if they don't necessarily have a lot to start out with?
All right, Adam, I'll let you, and then I'll give him my thoughts.
Yeah, so look, I think the number one thing that the college students have, the number one asset they have that every other person, older, rich person in the world doesn't have is time. You have the value of time on your side. So I always say it's never too early to start investing. People think that you need to start with, $100,000 in your portfolio and you need to make 1,000% to make it worth your time. No, some people are contributing $100 a month, $50 a month, and over your life, you'll be surprised how quickly that can compound. The people who are able to start their retirement investments 10 years sooner, or even 5 years sooner than somebody else, could see double the value in 40 years from now compared to someone that didn't. So I think, Charles, you mentioned it earlier too, timing the market over timing the market, especially for someone who's not an active investor, hedge fund manager, institutionalized investor. I think time is your biggest asset, and as a college student, that's the number one thing you have.
Yeah, I bought my first mutual fund when I was 17. My mom had to co-sign. It wasn't a lot of money. Then I joined the Air Force, and when I saved up $1,000, I was in Minot, North Dakota. I went down to the Dean Witter office, and I bought shares of MCI. And the reason I bought MCI is I've been reading this story about this guy. He was a maverick, right? He used to smoke like 10 packs of cigarettes a day and drink 47 cups of coffee. And he was taking on AT&T, the biggest company in the world. He said, I'm going to take him down. I said, this is my man right here. Give me some of that stock, So I bought $1,000 worth of the stock. I got the certificate, put it in a box, and I held the stock for years, and it did very well. So I think the most important point is to get started and never stop. Forget about what you're starting with, right? Because the ultimate goal is what you end with, right? Great question. Thank you very much. And Adam, congratulations, my man.
Thank you. Thank you for
I
having
love
me.
Adam. He's one of the best. Can we give him a round of applause?
And Charles, I will add, Charles was the first person to bring me on national TV. First person. I'll never forget that. So, Charles, thank you for getting my foot in the door as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it.